Welcome to video number 254, and this is lecture number 2 in rural development and basic concepts. There are many problems in rural development. Some problems are people are community related, whereas others are related to agricultural sector. There are also some problems related to infrastructure. Some are economic problems. Then there are social and cultural problems, and then leadership related problems and politics, and finally we will discuss administrative problems. We start with the people related problems. People in rural areas are not highly educated, so they think in a traditional way. Their understanding of various issues and problems is poor. They have low level of education, and so they lack to understand the developmental efforts and new technology. People are deprived psychologically, and their scientific orientation is very low, and then there is lack of confidence due to low awareness and poor knowledge, and so their level of education is low, and there is existence of unfelt needs, and there is personal ego among the rural community. There are some agriculture related problems. So number one is that there is lack of expected awareness, knowledge, skill, and attitude. And then there is the problem of unavailability of inputs or high price of inputs, and marketing facilities are very poor, and there is insufficient extension staff and services available to the rural people, and then there are some multidimensional tasks to extension personnel. So extension personnel is not able to reach out to all the people of the area, especially in rural areas. And another problem is that for land holding, the land holding size is very small because of subdivision and fragmentation, and so there is division of land, and people are unwilling to work and stay in rural areas, so that results in rural urban migration. After this, there are some other problems. We will discuss them, and they are economic problems. So there are some unfavorable economic conditions to adopt high cost technology. As I mentioned earlier, there are high costs of inputs. So many farmers in the rural areas are not able to apply improved and modern inputs in agriculture. A lot of people are underprivileged, and the rural industries are underdeveloped. Similarly, there is a lack of leadership in rural areas, and especially those who are leadership is among the hands of inactive and incompetent people, and some of the leaders are self-centered or self-interested. So benefits of development do not go to the rural poor, and there is also biased political will. So there are also political crises among rural communities in rural areas. Then we discuss some of the administrative problems prevailing in rural areas, and due to which rural development is not taking place. Some of the problems are that the political leaders they interfere in the activities and in the affairs of the rural development and the rural people, and there is lack of motivation, interest among the people living in rural communities, and some are not willing to work in villages. They don't want to stay there, and also in rural development projects there is improper utilization of the money allocated for that particular project. So the benefits do not trickle down to the poor. There is no proper monitoring program, and there is lack in their implementation. So on administrative side, they have many problems, and due to which rural development doesn't takes place efficiently. Then we have scope and importance of rural development. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, rural development is a dynamic process which is mainly concerned with the rural areas, and these include agricultural growth, putting up of economic and social infrastructure, fair wages, is also housing and house sites for the landless, village planning, public health, education, and functional literacy, as well as communication and so on. Uh, we can also say rural development is a national necessity and has considerable importance in developing countries, including India, Pakistan, Nepal, and other um, underdeveloped countries. Why do we need rural development? What are the causes of rural development to take place? There are a number of reasons which have been put forward in literature. One of the reasons is to develop rural area as a whole in terms of culture, society, economy, technologically, and in health sector. Number two, to develop living standard of rural masses, general public, especially children, women, and landless labor. To develop rural youths, children, and women. To develop and empower human resource of rural areas in terms of their psychology, skill, knowledge, attitude, and other abilities, and to solve the problems are faced by the rural mass for their development. Number six, to develop infrastructural facilities of the rural areas. Number seven, to provide minimum facility to rural masses in terms of safe or clean drinking water, improved education facilities, improved transportation system, electricity, and communication. Uh, in Pakistan, in especially in rural areas, the electricity outage is a serious problem, and there are no alternatives. So people are suffering a lot due to lack of electricity in the rural areas because there is huge load shedding of long hours from 20 to 22 hours on daily basis. Similarly, to develop rural institutions like panchayat, cooperatives, post, banking, credit, and other institutions, to develop rural industries through the development of handicrafts, small scale industries, cottage industries, village industries, rural crafts, and other related economic operations in the rural sector. The other reason is to develop agriculture, animal husbandry, and other agricultural allied activities, to restore uncultivated land, provide irrigation facilities, and motivate farmers to adopt improved seed, fertilizers, package of practices of crop cultivation and soil conservation methods. And there is and rural development is also needed because people have to be educated about the adoption of organic farming. There is also need to develop entertainment and a recreational facility to the rural public, to develop leadership quality of the rural area, and to improve rural marketing facilities because these marketing facilities are meager, or there are no marketing facilities. So marketing need to be improved to minimize gap between the urban and rural in terms of facilities availed, and to improve rural people's participation in the development of state and nation as a whole. That means particip- participatory development, and for that purpose, there are a number of ways like rapid rural appraisal, participatory rural appraisal, and then we also need to improve scopes of employment for rural masses, and for the sustainable development of rural area, we also need to have development on sustainable basis. And the most important reason for rural development to take place is to uh, alleviate or eliminate rural poverty. And finally, rural development also means to empower them. So, in a nutshell, we can say we need rural development in rural areas in order to have the three core values of development which were proposed and discussed by Michael P. Tudero, that is sustenance or fulfillment of their basic needs, self-esteem, and freedom from servitude. So, sustainable rural development will enable people to have sustenance, to have self-esteem, and to have freedom from servitude. So that is why rural development is needed. These are the various topics that we discussed. Uh, we discussed this in two parts, in lecture 1 and in lecture 2. I hope this lecture and the previous lecture, both which were both focused on rural development and basic concept, and I hope and I understand that majority of you have liked and enjoyed these two slides, and I hope you may like to subscribe to this channel by clicking on this red button, and do not forget to click on the bell icon so that you can get notification about other videos that I'll upload for you. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in another video.